Oh, good morning. I hope that you had a great night. My name is Linda Alela, and we're here as always to make sure that your day starts on a very good note. You are informed, enlightened, entertained, and that's exactly what we'll be doing. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. Testy Wednesday is there. Of course, we'll be teaching you how best you can make your shawarma. But what's important is what we'll be discussing this morning as we look at the political promises that our politicals are always giving us. Biggest question, just how true are they, and just how much can we trust them? What then will it take for us to keep them to accountability? Because it's very, very important that once they make that promise and we get them to power, then they deliver on their promises. In most cases, such is not what plays out. And so we'll be having this conversation just to get to understand how best we can enlighten the electorate so that they get to understand their roles at this particular moment, this crucial moment where we are headed for an electioneering period. Campaign lines are just yet to be opened, but we have seen our politicians traversing different parts of the country. And the question is just how genuine are they with all these promises that they're giving us, a majority of them looking at the aspect of the economy. Speak of the bottom-up approach, speak of the stipends that we're talking about, that of course the Right Honorable Raila Odinga says he will be dishing out to the vulnerable families, and not forgetting what the likes of, principles of One Kenya Alliance are presenting in their own special ways. The likes of Mudavadi would tell you that they focus on making sure that we have uchumi bora. Of course, we'll be looking at all this. Make sure that you keep it right here. Indeed, a conversation that you do not want to miss out on. That should be later on the broadcast. And we also do not forget to talk matters relationships. Very, very important, especially when, of course, investigations are being conducted. But as, of course, it is being said by the bosses of the police forces or the security offices, or it is evident that there are likelihoods that what could have informed or triggered a police or a cop to kill 6 people could have been an issue of a love triangle gone sour. So we'll be looking at all this, and we ask ourselves in our own setups, just what are we doing to make sure that the relationships that we're having with people around us and the ones that we consider as our loved ones are, of course, healthy relationships. So it's my pleasure to take you through all this. My name is Linda Alela. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela. TV47 KE Morning Cafe begins right away. First things first. The newspapers. We have the Daily Nation, the Standard newspaper, and the People Daily that we have online. We start off with what we have on a screen, and cop, or how the deranged cop shot dead 6 within minutes. And in a sad twist, Benson Imbatu was under investigations by IPOA for the April 16 killing of Nicholas Lifede at Mountain View Estate within Kabete area. Story captured on page 4 and 5. So it appears it's not the first time that such is happening. And Constable Benson Imbatu shot dead his lover and 5 other people before killing himself. Police said that the man appeared disturbed and was shooting anyone on sight. That's quite unfortunate. It was a morning that was a bit horror for the residents of Mountain View, and evidently there's so much that of course is being looked into just to get to understand what could have informed this heinous act from the policeman. But evidently across all board, a clarion call is that we should be vigilant, we should be on alert, and most importantly, let's get to listen to the police men and women, just to get to know what really could be informing, these tough moments that they're going through. As of course, the talk has been, a majority of them are not mentally okay, and it is important that we have these candid discussions just so we would be able to detect such in the event that it is likely to happen and maybe curb. And so this is one thing that we'll be looking at, and it actually cuts across all the papers. Killer cops last call and love turned sour. Our story captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper and expounded on page 14 of the same. And we equally have the same story for killer officer. It was a matter of when and not if, a story captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. We'll be looking at that, just trying to decipher as to what will be happening or what could have informed the same, and equally a developing story that will be here to make sure that you get the details as and when they hit our desks. Now, Mount Kenya tycoons to endorse Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Is it the case? A story captured on page 6. We all remember the Mount Kenya Foundation and the conversations that they've had with different, presidential aspirants. And so we'll be looking at what is likely to culminate on Right Honorable Raila Odinga's big day. Others argue that as well, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been there to make sure that at least this big day turns out to be, historic for Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Is it a clear endorsement of the Right Honorable? Is one of the conversations that we'll be having right here in studio. But as it is, the roads are headed to Kasarani Stadium come Friday for the big announcement or declaration that is said to be made by the ODM boss. And as many would say, we are eagerly waiting to see whether he will finally declare whether he will be running for presidency or what then will play out. Will the others come on board to back him? A question that we'll be asking this morning. Send us your views and we get to sample them again as we continue with the broadcast. Court falls NMS in Uhuru Park. Facelift, and the conversation has been on as to what exactly informed this and whether it was proper. And then we have this declaration by the courts. Just how then will they be followed, and what does it mean as a majority as well? A cry foul on the fact that they've not been able to conduct businesses that they have been conducting for ages and arcing a living out of the same. They argue that the government would have actually done better in terms of making sure that they are well informed, making sure that they are well cushioned, and above everything, at least, consulted before this was declared that it would play out. Away from it, Wamboi Ruto's life on the fast lane, and tenderpreneur shot to fame, that is in 2013 and 2017 during the Jubilee campaigns, and has never been afraid to flaunt power and influence. And we have seen, of course, the forces going for her. Story captured on page 7. We'll definitely be looking at that, and also we get to understand how best then the influence will come in handy to make sure that, well, she does not face it rough in the hands of the law. CBK gets power to tame digital lenders. A story captured on the other side of the business hub. Very, very important story right there, especially at this time and age where everybody, or at least most of the people, are trying to conduct businesses online. It's important that you are aware of what then is expected of you. And coming to the hard copies of the Daily Nation, Akasha keen fight to recover their properties from Kenyan courts. A story captured on page 11. We all understand what played out on the fate of the Akasha brothers. Not all rosy, but all the same, it looks like they continue to put up the fight. CBC now goes to university and colleges to review courses ahead of rollout. A story captured on the back page of the Daily Nation as pertaining to matters education, and varsities to review courses as CBC rollout approaches. Only 2 institutions have facilities for visual and performing arts in the whole country. What does that mean? Does it lock out a majority of students or not? When we're talking about the reforms, students are taking education on the aspect of arts, make 20% of the population. And so at a glance, the social sciences and sports and arts, of course, BECF envisages a 25% enrollment in social sciences and 15% in arts and sports sciences. And so for now, Law has the lowest university course enrollment at about 8,950, followed by ICT and agriculture. Changes, of course, are being witnessed in the education sector. One thing that has been well received but on equal measures castigated, and the conversation is on as to how set the country is to manage the matters of CBC and having our students getting quality education. This also is a conversation of whether we should make sure that at least we come back to a point of having corporal punishment in our schools is on. And the biggest question is, should we get to that level so that at least then we'd be able to tame the kind of animosity that is being witnessed in our schools, or that is is not the way to go. Once again, important that we get your view on these key stories that I'm touching on. 7 tests positive for Omicron in Uganda, and the variant was detected in 2 travelers from South Africa and 5 from Nigeria who arrived actually in Uganda more than a week ago, raising fears that the virus might as well have spread in the neighboring country. A story captured on page 8. You are reminded to stay vigilant. This as a test continue to be conducted on this particular new variant. As they would say, it appears that it could spread pretty much faster, but is not as tough as the previous, variants that we've had, the likes of Delta, not as heavy in terms of how then it mutates. But then again, it's very important that you keep a social distance as declared by World Health Organization. Make sure that you have your masks on, and as always, constantly sanitize or wash your hands, and all the protocols that are set to make sure that you take care of yourself or use calm or tame the spread of COVID-19. Raila beats One Kenya Alliance to win tycoons backing for 2022. Allies of Deputy President William Ruto and Mudavadi criticize the president's move to influence succession. And Mount Kenya Foundation bigwigs have settled on ODM leader Raila Odinga as their preferred candidate to take over from President Uhuru Kenyatta, coming as a major political boost ahead of the former Prime Minister's big day. A story captured on page 4, 5, and 6. One of the biggest stories politically in the country that will be hitting the headlines for the better part of the week until that formal declaration set for Friday. On the other side, the Standard newspaper, I've already touched on this particular big story, and on matters education, why head teachers. All right, just a second, let's fix this. Yes, why head teachers want schools closed early. A story captured on page 4. This as pertaining to the different situations that are playing out in our very own schools, adjustments that are being witnessed at some point in time that feel that the kind of animosity and arson attacks, could have been informed by the fact that students are overwhelmed. And so we'll be looking at that later on. CBK will now police digital lenders equally as well. A story captured on page 29. We all understand how a majority of Kenyans have gone into that line. Tough economic times. If you are to borrow, you're borrowing from this digital lender to pay the other, to borrow from the other, to pay the other. And, it's quite unfortunate, as many would argue. Then the regulation could come in handy to make sure that a majority of Kenyans do not end up, in this miserable life of lending to pay now. As they would say, you borrow from Peter to pay Paul. DP Ruto's big gamble over small parties. A story captured on page 7. This pertaining to matters politics. We'll be looking at that later on as we continue with the broadcast as well. Captured on page 12 and on the front page, Raila's bag of tricks just when he looked at the least attractive, or he appeared to be the least attractive. Well, it looks like all this is, coming out, of course, to play differently. So we'll be looking at all that. Make sure that you keep it right here. I already have one guest in studio. The others will be joining us virtually as we get to this candid conversation. So let's briefly take a look at what my team has prepared as pertaining again to matters news. And police officers from Kabete Police Station are investigating a bizarre case where one police officer attached to the station went on a shooting spree, killing 5 people moments after killing his wife. Now, the officer, identified as Benson Imbatu, later shot himself as police officers from Kabete, in assistance with border riders, launched a manhunt.
Tuesday morning, and Kangemi area within Westlands constituency was turned into a battlefield as police officers engaged irate members of the public in running battles after a police officer went berserk and murdered 6 people before turning the trigger on himself. According to Dagoretti Sub-County Police Commander Francis Wahome, the officer was on duty before excusing himself and went to his house armed with an AK-47 rifle, where he first killed his wife before going on a shooting spree targeting members of the public.
Akajiexcuse kidogo na alienda kwa nyumba yake na akampiga risasi mke wake. Ni kama jambo hilo liliweza kumsubua na hapo akatoka. akachukua gari lake na ile bunduki ambayo alikuwa nayo. Yeyote yule aliyekuwa anampata kwa njia ilikuwa ni target yake.
Some boda riders who met the killer officer in the wee hours of Tuesday morning will live to tell tales after they escaped death by a whisker.
Bikiwa chairman simu akaniambia endo angalie nini afanyika Kishagi. Mimi kutoka hivi nikikunywa mafuta tosha nikapatana mwili ya kwanza Viongo Road. Nikakuja tena kidogo nikapatana mwili mwingine. Tulimuka hapa kwa St. Joseph na nikapatana marafiki wangu tukasimama nikaongea nao ndio tukaita maaskari.
Akatoka ndani mwenye tunafahamu anaitwa Mr. Pen. Akatoka na AK47 akatumulika akaanza kutunyanyasa malisasi. Ilibidi tumeepa. Tulikuwa wasee wanne na wengine wanduti tukaepa stage.
He was my breadwinner.
While others were lucky to escape death, others weren't. Winfred Nyambura lost her husband, a boda rider, to the trigger-happy cop. Nyambura says her husband, who worked at night, did not return home in the morning as usual, only for neighbors to inform her that he was among the victims.
Mimi nililala kitu allowed 11, nikampigia simu, nikamwambia si tumelala. Akaniambia sawa kesho. Nikamwambia ni sawa. Then juu niko na mtoto mdogo. Mtoto allowed saa 9 akaamka akaanza kuniuliza mama babako wapi? Kamwambia babako job anakuja. Mtoto akalala. Kafika tena allowed 6. Mtoto akaamka tena. Akaniuliza baba amekuja? Nikamwambia baba bado hajakuja. From there so I started calling. Nikampigia simu. Hakuna mwenye anapick. Nikabia hata jirani jaribu hii call uone kama kuna mwenye atashika. Finally hakuna nobody who is responding. Then I took my action. Nikatoka.
Her husband, Amos Njoroge, was the sole breadwinner to his young family, with Nyambura calling on the government to intervene for the families who lost their loved ones.
Nimekuja nimethibitisha kwa pikipiki, nikaona pikipiki yake ndio hii. Nagojea sana niende mochari, niende niangalia mwili yake. I have nothing to do. I'm a mother of 3. I have no job. I don't know where to start.
It is alleged that the killer police head a few months ago killed a civilian, a case that is before the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA.
It's not the first time hii issue imetendeka. Huyu ofisa kuna mtu aliua hapa chini around 6 months ago, of which kesi yake iko kwa IPOA. Sisi tunataka tujue, is the report out ya hiyo IPOA? And if the report is out, what is the police officers doing?
Angalie IPOA inakuja kufanya investigation kwa hii mambo ili watuambie ni hasa nini ilifanyika, na tunataka pia inspector of police aanze kuweka mikakati ya kupeleka ya kuleta psychologist katika kikosi cha polisi.
Following today's shocking murders, the National Police Service has been implored to prioritize the issues of mental health among police officers to avert such cases in the future. Mwangi Maina, TV47 from Kabete Police Station, Nairobi.
And Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has paid a tribute to officers who lost their lives in the line of duty over the last 1 year. The Internal Security Chief assured Kenyans that the National Police Service and the Kenya Prison Service have taken steps to institutionalize the welfare of our officers. And according to Matiang'i, the creation of an accurate digital record of officers is dependent, and next of kin will see the expedition of gratuity and benefits payments which were previously delayed over disputed relations and court cases on succession. He was accompanied by Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai and Director of Criminal Investigations George Kinuthia. And Tuesday, Uganda confirmed its first 7 cases of the Omicron variant. And according to the Ugandan government, the 7 cases were found among travelers from Nigeria and South Africa who are said to have entered the landlocked country last month. This even as the Kenyan government warns the international community against knee-jerk reactions to a virus that is highly mutative. Zainab Mohammed with more.
The Omicron variant is now in Uganda. According to the Director of Clinical Services, Charles Olaro, the cases were found among 7 travelers, 5 of them originating from Nigeria, while 2 from South Africa. Others were said to have traveled into Uganda from Netherlands, United Arab Emirates, and the Democratic Republic of Congo on the 29th of November. Reports indicating the travelers used Kenya Airways, Uganda Airlines, as well as Ethiopian Airways into Uganda. The Ugandan government says out of 13 samples collected, 7 turned positive for the variant. This even as the Kenyan government warns the international community against knee-jerk reactions to a virus that is highly mutative. According to Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, there shouldn't be a travel ban every time a new variant emerges.
But we are also appealing for the global community not to have a knee-jerk reaction to situations. Variants will come and variants will go. That is the nature of the viruses we are dealing with.
The country is exactly 14 days away from the no vaccination, no services ban, with the government insisting that it will not loosen its grip on the matter. According to the Ministry of Health, come the 21st of December, Kenyans will not be able to access vital services without proof of vaccination.
We have set that deadline very clearly and a long time ago to say that if you want to get on the train, if you want to go to a restaurant, if you want to go to a government office, if you want to get onto a plane, if you want to leave Kenya, you will have to be vaccinated. And for that reason, we are telling Kenyans, don't wait for the last moment.
Meanwhile, the country received a consignment of 4.3 million J&J vaccine doses from the German government via the COVAX facility and an additional 400,000 AstraZeneca vaccine from Argentina. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Thanks, Zain, for the update. Now, the hearing of our 7 billion graft case facing Madeira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua has been postponed to September next year. Appearing before the senior magistrate Rose Makungu at the Milimani Anti-Corruption Court, lawyers representing the MP told the court that they were not served with all the witnesses' statements, and the Member of Parliament is facing charges of conspiracy to commit an offence of corruption, fraudulent acquisition of public property, and money laundering after it was alleged that he defrauded Nyeri County government 27.4 million between May 2015 and December 2016. And insecurity concerns dominated Deputy President William Ruto's campaign in Laikipia County a day after the DP accused senior government officials for allegedly using the criminal justice system to advance their political agenda. The DP says his government is elected will solve the issue of conflict arising from resources in Laikipia County. Ruto's allies in Laikipia County urged the DP to focus on tightening security matters in the region.
Deputy President William Ruto has yet again taken a swipe at ODM boss Raila Odinga and his competitors, one day after Ruto accused the government of using the criminal justice system to frustrate his allies and his 2022 presidential bid. Ruto allies have blamed Interior CS Fred Matiang'i for what he said was being active in politics instead of focusing on matters in security, a major challenge in Laikipia counties.
Rais umeongea yote, ile ya usalama ndio tunazingatia. Ni kilomita 5 ukisikia risasi ikilia tunapigwa na watu. Na tunajua utayazingatia yote.
Rais wa 5. Ukipata hii kiti ya president utapata. Tunaongea maneno ya security hapa. Tunaongea maneno ya NPL. Ndio NPL wakuje watushikie maneno ya security.
He has abandoned his work. That is why you find our security officers, askari ambao ni vijana, watoto wetu, wanauana wenyewe kwa wenyewe, wanaua raia because they are disturbed, because you have abandoned taking care of even their welfare. Tuambie Matiang'i ama tusimwambie?
The CS Matiang'i, uache maneno ya siasa, uache kutumia pesa ya security kwa siasa, ukuje umake sure Laikipia security merudi.
The second in command has assured Laikipia residents that if elected, his government will eliminate conflicts over resources such as water and pasture by investing in pastoralist areas, ensure sufficient water for livestock, and also provide farmers with subsidized farm inputs to produce enough food.
Tuliwaahidi ya kwamba tutapanga ajira ya hawa vijana, na tutapanga kilimo, na tutapanga mambo ya universal health coverage katika ile mpango ya Big 4. Mimi nataka niwaambie hiyo program ya Big 4 haijatembea vile tulikuwa tumepanga.
And as small political parties continue to emerge, with some seen as negotiating tools, the DP has urged the need of uniting under his party, which he says will address issues affecting different regions.
Italete pembe zote za Kenya pamoja, ili tuweze kupata nguvu ya kuunda serikali itakayoshughulikia Wakenya wote bila ya kujali mahali wametoka, dini, rangi, kabila, kwa sababu sisi wote ni ndugu moja wa taifa moja la Kenya.
The DP held roadside stopovers and engaged people of Sipili, Kinamba, Karandi, Kimuriot, Gatirima, Mudhengera and Koanjiku centers in Laikipia County, accompanied by his allies from the region and a section of leaders from Mount Kenya region. Paul Kirobi, TV 47.
Hey. UDA.
Well, certainly forms the basis of our conversation this morning, and as well the next story. The preparations for the Azimio la Umoja meeting set to take place this Friday at Kasarani Stadium are at the tail end, with ODM members urging Kenyans to be ready for what they say is a big announcement which is likely to change the political temperatures in the country. Now, the meeting, which is expected to bring together thousands of Raila's supporters, comes amid lack of clarity on ODM Jubilee Pact ahead of 2022 general election.
The stage is set for Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga's big day at the historic Kasarani Stadium, with ODM leaders promising Kenyans what they term as ground-shaking announcement by the ODM boss.
And I want to be very, very clear that this is not going to be ODM meeting. It's not ODM function. It is a Azimio la Umoja function, where we are going to listen to Raila Amolo Odinga speak to the people of Kenya.
Siku hiyo ndio tajibu wa Kenya vile anavyotaka, na tutasikia hotuba yake siku hiyo, na ile hotuba muhimu ambayo itatokea hapa siku hiyo ni hotuba ya baba. Yeye ndio atahutubia wa Kenya. Hawa ni supporters yetu tayari wameshafika, wameshaanza kuingia, unazika delegates wamefika. Hii mambo imeshika moto, ndugu zangu, nchi inatetemeka.
Central Province people, they are calling me, they don't even want to be given transport, but they want to be here and see Baba and hear what Baba is going to tell the country. So all of us are ready to hear what Baba will tell us on Friday. So as members of parliament, we are all here to support the initiative. We in Nairobi, we know, and mostly in Central Province, there are so many people who want to come on Friday, and they are eager. They don't even want to be fed, but they want even to sleep here so that we can get us safe.
The unity pact between former political rivals dominating the ongoing preparations for Raila's big day. ODM leaders met those from Jubilee, with sources indicating that plans to form a united front and propel Raila to State House being fine-tuned. The ODM and Jubilee merger talks, however, are yet to come up with a clear deal on the proposed coalition.
Oh, they will be here. They will be Jubilee people. And you have heard me appealing to Nairobi people, and mostly from, you have heard me even saying yesterday we had a meeting of Jubilee delegate and ODM. That's that we are here.
Nazi ni ya kila siku. Kuna matunda mengine ambayo kwamba ni ya msimu maembe. Kwa hivyo hizi siasa za jamaa wenye kuvaa mashati za yellow sijui ama rangi gani sijui, but you know, uwezi kufikia watu katika msimu uone kwa thamani yako itakuwa ni sawa na yule ambaye kwamba yuko pale kila siku.
The Azimio la Umoja meeting is expected to bring together delegates from ODM, Jubilee and One Kenya Alliance, with over 50,000 supporters expected to grace the event.
And here, come and attest to what Baba will say. Come and witness Baba, the greatest there was, the greatest there is, and the greatest there will ever be. Come and see Baba. And on Friday, we expect you to leave anything you are doing, as we'll be rewriting history. Come and attest how hope will be rekindled in the nation.
Women of Kenya, answering the question, in whose hands are the women of Kenya safe? Na Ijumaa, kina mama wote wa Kenya wataona ya kwamba the women of Kenya are safe in the hands of Baba.
With thousands of Odinga's supporters expected at the Azimio la Umoja meeting on Friday, men will be keen to see if the deal between ODM and Jubilee will be actualized. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Kasarani, Nairobi.
All right, well, thank you so much for that, Liz. One of the key stories that we look at, as we are told that thousands will be expected, around 6,000 there in the stadium, and everybody is being told that please brace yourself for that. Very important also, protocols will be observed as pertaining to, you know, how best we tame the spread of COVID-19, but it will indeed be an instrumental moment for politics in the country, and so we'll be briefly looking at that as we await to see what plays out on Friday. But what's important as well is that we also look at, you know, the different moments of politicians that are trying to traverse the different parts of the country in search for support, and just what then the Mount Kenya will declare. Interesting times politically, but what's important is that we're reminded that we should be very peaceful as ever. What was witnessed yesterday in Laikipia should be condemned in high gear. We are glad that no terrible reports that came out of that in terms of people being hurt or lives being lost. But we say that it culminates from that very point, and so we should allow that our politicians should come on board, you know, sell their agenda. Us is to hear and let them go, and then we'll make the decision on the ballot. We get to this bit of the conversation, and we have guests in studio right here. We're expecting to get a hold of one more, but of course until then, let's work with the ones that we have. We have Mhesh right here, James Gakuya, Member of Parliament in Embakasi North. Senior, it's a pleasure to have you this morning. I hope you've been well.
I've been well, Rita.
All right, yes, and we also have Kinuthia Pius, who's our senatorial aspirant of Murang'a County. It's a pleasure to have you, and he's been very categorical that we should say he's a member of ODM.
Yes.
So the lake has climbed the mountain officially?
The lake and the mountain,
they're fused,
together,
and so they are together.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know whether Mheshimiwa will have the same view, but then again, we are here. The biggest focus is on the unending political promises that we're getting from our political leaders. We have seen even the latest that we've just watched right there. And in Laikipia County, and the DP also reminding the people of Laikipia what he wishes or what he seeks or his government would do in the event that he gets to power for the people of Laikipia. And we have all these promises left, right and center. But the question is just who is always there to make sure that we put these leaders to account to account for these particular promises that they give to us. In most cases, they are just promises during the times of campaigns, but after that, it turns out to be something different. And so we're looking at the politics of handouts, the politics of promises, and how best then we can switch our democratic space to something that would be of importance to us. This, as we take a look at the conversation of succession and so much more. Before we get into this, gentlemen, allow us to briefly look at some of the key stories as well that have been captured on the papers that are of equal importance before we delve into the political scene. The Standard newspaper, the People Daily, and the Daily Nation. Mhesh, killer cops last call and love turned sour. That's a story captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper, finds itself on the Daily Nation and as well the People Daily. And so we just get to understand what really is happening. This is not the first time that we're having such stories. And you know, it appears like it's been a dark moment for the country, from the minds that, you know, of course, covered a lot of people. Some of them are still there, and we have rescue missions on from the terrible accident that is in Kitui, Mwingi over the weekend, and now coming to this spree of shoots on, you know, about 6 individuals by the police, and equally, you know, ending up killing himself. What does it speak of the situation in the country?
Allow me to salute the viewers wherever they are watching us from this morning, and coming to the matter on our headlines. I would say that it's very sad indeed, to have an officer whom we expect that actually is the one in charge of safeguarding the lives of Kenyans, only to find that he's the one who is standing against the lives of Kenyans. This is very sad indeed. But my most sadness is that you find that the other cops are stating very clear that actually it was a time bomb in waiting. So that tells you that actually they knew the character of this particular person. And you understand that also he was a suspect in a certain murder at Mountain View, where the IPOA team has not yet released the final findings. Then if you really have such kind of person in our field, and you know the character of the person, I think the first and foremost you should do is just to make sure that this fellow is set aside. But you cannot allow this kind of fellow with that kind of suspect still to hold gun, because you know that actually at the end of the day, this fellow might turn against. To me, is that I would say, if really there are some symptoms of an officer with that kind of behavior, first and foremost, don't allow this person to deal with Amale at all. Make sure that this person is not anywhere near a gun. Then that fellow can be kept away and be watched whether he can change the characteristics. And number two, if there was a suspect that maybe this person is ill, actually I think the best thing was to take this person to hospital, so that at least he can be tested and known exactly whether he has a problem mentally. Probably this fellow has issues, has mental issues, and all this has transpired with the knowledge of his colleagues. Therefore, I would say it's sad and very regrettable, and to have a situation like this one is very, very regrettable. Matters to do with what we have witnessed in Ezao in Mwingi is also another regrettable issue, that at least this is not the first case. That particular river has been there, and we have learned that in history it has been there right from early days. I am not aware why the leadership along that particular region have never taken that serious. Just to make sure that there is what we call emergency route, and this emergency route is just to create a bridge, because that is not an ocean or a sea. It's just a valley where water passes when there is what we call water burst. And therefore, it is only a human being who can take action, not only when there is that kind of a carnage, but this should be prevented by making sure that there is men and women of goodwill who takes action area. We have governor in their current state. I don't think that, in fact, the national government are not be able to deal with it. The government also is not capable of dealing with it. And therefore, I would urge that let us not lash to what we call aftermaths. We better do what we call preservations, and making sure that we put actions in good time. Because if we had, if we could have at least a bridge, I think a bridge with a budget of 1 billion Kenya shillings, it is not as much as the lives that we can lost.
Well,
therefore, I wish that in fact a plan has been taken and an action has been taken to make sure that there is an alternative route where a bridge is placed to make sure that the river is passable even during when the river's outburst.
Well put, Mheshimiwa. You know, Kinuthia, this case of the police comes just, you know, at this point when we're having that conversation, and we also had the police bosses equally are having a moment of commemorating the soldiers who've fallen in the line of duty, and also just generally looking at everything here, and as pertaining to what Mheshimiwa well articulates, it's an evident scenario where at some point in time as a country, such has played out because of laxity and because we've taken things lightly. Maybe we did not take precautions, as he would rightfully put it. What do you make of such, even as we say, well, all has happened, but it's important that we learn from what has happened for us to not go through the same in future?
Let me first of all say hi to my viewers and my Murang'a people, and take this opportunity to welcome all viewers and Kenyans at large to a Friday's event in Kasarani for the Azimio la Umoja National Convention. It is going to be a big day for this country, big announcement for our Prime Minister, and I encourage all Kenyans to turn up in big numbers for that great event. Now to our issue, our main issue here is about mental health issues. That is an issue that is like, I can term it as like a national disaster in this country, because people are suffering, people are losing jobs, their family quarrels. People have so much pressure in their lives. And if the government can put up system or policies that can take these people who are suffering from mental health through counseling sessions, I think the kind of issues can be averted. Because if this person, I've read from the paper that this person has other pending murder cases, and the government knew about all these cases, but the government was not serious about that. They didn't take action about that. They allowed the person to continue holding guns. So I think the government should be so serious, and whenever they see the kind of cases, they should take precautions, guide these persons and counsel them so that they can be able to avoid the kind of incidents in this country. Because our mental health is a serious issue in this country.
Well put. I agree. And we have the Omicron variant. Mheshimiwa, it appears that it is right next door. And so Kenyans are reminded of how important it is to be careful at this particular point. It continues to mutate, and evidently COVID-19 is here. I don't want to confidently say it's here to stay, because we hope that we'll be able to tame it. What more needs to be done to make sure that, you know, things are, you know, of course, taken to levels of at least, you know, where it is that we were before it was too bad as it stands?
Rida, I do think that actually the Ministry of Health is trying to do the best, and I am happy that today we are not in a situation where there was a serious lack of ammunitions. I would salute those donors who have made a great effort to give donations to this country in terms of those ammunitions. And we have, I would say that today it's only that maybe members of the citizens are not coming out in big numbers for the injection, but the dose are here. There was a time that we have been borrowing even from our neighbors, asking for those the savings that actually our neighbors have saved. But today I would say we have enough. And what I would urge is that let the public come out, let us allow ourselves to be immunized, let us be injected so that at least we can be sure of our safety. I think the country has set a pace because still we are under the tight conditionalities. set by the Ministry of Health, and these are issues to do with wearing of masks and making sure that we have what we call our other normal washing of hands and sanitizing, and all these are being followed to the other, and I think that majority of us are doing that. But this notwithstanding, I would still urge Kenyans to be more precautionary and make sure that, in fact, one is his own guard, to make sure that once you preserve yourself from this, then you'll be able to safeguard the life of your neighbor. Because these issues to do with this monster, it seems to be within our midst, and it's still not to be leaving very soon. And therefore, what we must do is that we must understand that the human has the brain, and our brain is the one which should make us free. And therefore, let us not think that actually the COVID virus are anywhere to think like ourselves. But we are the people who must know how to deal and how to live with it. Because I think we are the people who moves with the virus, and then we can find out even what we have found out in Uganda. It is those travelers who came from South Africa to Uganda who are found with those kind of virus, and that tells you that it is us who works with it. Therefore, as human, we must know, we must stay above the bar and make sure that we keep all the conditionalities set to make sure that actually our lives are safe. Number two is to make sure that the government keep on also immunizing Kenyans freely, because I think that if anything that is free, nobody will say that actually there is a hindrance. But when probably one is requested to go for cash, maybe there can be that cash flow problem. So I think the government has a duty, and the government has put in their budget good money to make sure that they safeguard the immunization of Kenyans. But Kenyans should also make sure that take this serious and make sure that actually we are injected. We have seen the CS for Health giving us terms and conditions, telling us that even though you want to live out of the country, you must have a certificate of being immunized. And therefore, if you cannot access government services, these are conditions that one thing probably will not work very well, but also is a condition that can make us follow that particular route of being immunized as much as possible.
Well put. Now, we shelve that one briefly and look at this particular story that has been captured on page 8 of the People Daily, and this directed to you, Kinuthia, before we get the view of Mheshimiwa, who as well is, a leader in Nairobi County Court. Falls NMS in Uhuru Park a facelift. Judge accuses City Hall of failing to conduct public participation before the renovations and has halted the project. And this halt as well is one that probably, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because we understand also how a majority of vendors cried foul at this point, because the argument was that, well, now they're not able to conduct business, they are not able to earn a living because of these renovations that were set to happen in Uhuru Park. And of course, upon beginning, it gets to a point now that the judges argue that this was not properly conducted. What do you make of such, in general, as you look at the aspect of most cases where we go in contempt of what the court declares, and what appears to be, a fight between the executive or a fight between the other arms of government and the courts or the judiciary? Because evidently, when government decides to take this direction and they are constantly, of course, stopped by the courts, by the simple facts that maybe they did not conduct public participation and a couple of other things that are required in law. I mean, where does it take us?
First of all, I want to commend the NMS for the good job they are doing in Nairobi County, because you have seen them doing some renovation in Nairobi. You have seen them build hospitals in our informal settlement areas. You have seen them trying to facelift our Nairobi CBD. So they are doing a good job, and I want to commend them for what they are doing. Now, you have a very big problem in this country whereby our new constitution allows that for you to undertake any policy, for you to implement any policy, or for you to undertake anything that is of public concern, you must inform the public.
Yeah.
But however, our leadership and our people in office, they usually overlook that particular aspect of our constitution. They do things without following the constitution. So whenever that matter goes to the court of law, the court said the wananchi, because you are not following the due process. So whatever the MSMEs tried to do for Uhuru Park, maybe they had good intentions, but they did not follow the due process. That's why the court said whatever you are doing was not good for this purpose, because you did not involve the wananchi. Because Uhuru Park is a public place, is a public recreational facility where people go rest. You have vendors for ice cream there. You have vendors who go there to you have mama mbogas who go there to sell their sausages, their boiled eggs there. So without involving these stakeholders, you are going to ruin where they get their daily bread. So I want to urge our leaders, our people in the offices, please follow the constitution. If the constitution says you must conduct a public participation, do not overlook that. Yeah.
Briefly, Mheshimiwa, on that one, I know that this will be a point of concern for you, being a leader in Nairobi County. There's so much adjustments that a majority of Kenyans have faced that have gotten them, feeling like they're being shortchanged by the very same government that is supposed to protect them and accord them job opportunities. And now that it has not done that, they have decided to venture into business, which they think their businesses are being distracted with all these activities that are playing out.
One thing, Rida, there has to be a balance. You must understand that we have people that actually we have to protect, and we have the properties of the people we have to protect. And once the CEO of this country is taken an oath, he takes an oath to protect the lives and property of the citizens. And therefore, as we move to transformations of our infrastructures, it is very important to consider. The rule is very clear, because the constitution is very clear. Once you want to push somebody from where he lives or where he gets his daily bread, then prepare an alternative site for him, so that at least you don't evict him totally and put him out of space, but at least make sure that you have somewhere else you have to relocate. This has not been seen working, because we find that even if we say that NMS is doing a lot, it has been making major evictions and demolitions of citizens of Nairobi without even necessarily minding or caring where these people will go or what kind of life they begin to live. And this is not really working very well, because we must know whatever development we want to initiate in this country, that development, it is for the user. And if you kill the user, who else will be able to benefit out of it? And therefore, I would say we need to make sure that there is a balancing. When you want to make sure that you want to change a situation, then use that element that is well clear in the constitution, that is public participation. Let the people know, yes, this will be done, and it will be done at what particular time. And by doing that, you just have a dialogue with them, then find a way of how do you relocate them from that particular point to another, so that you don't kill their livelihood. Right. But when you kill these people and you kill their process of finding their daily bread, where do you want these Kenyans to go? These Kenyans, you cannot force them back to Gishagi, where they came from. You cannot force these Kenyans to go to Uganda. You can't force them to move to Somali. You have to have a plan. And you must know that whatever you are doing for the good of the people. Yes, if you are doing for the good of the people, negotiate, dialogue with them. And that's the key.
All right, UDA and tell Uhuru to keep off 2022 polls. Yesterday's papers were detailing that President Uhuru Kenyatta is equally very active, like President or the late, of course, President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, was also keen to know who his successor then would be. It appears that that is the kind of politics that President Uhuru Kenyatta is playing. And as much they say that he's also actively, involved in making sure, or in the setting up of the Azimio la Umoja, campaign that is headed to Kasarani on Friday. And so this evidently means that the president is not out of it. If you'd listen to what, the member of parliament, that is Ngunjiri Wambugu, was saying, that there are likelihoods that President Uhuru Kenyatta then is not going anywhere. Lots are, as pertaining to the involvement of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Kinuthia, what do you make of that? In most cases, it has appeared as though it's an undoing for incumbents to, actively participate on getting to know who their successor would be. And, such is always the case in Africa, but in most cases it's not like the people that they endorse are likely to get it or are likely to be at the top of the helm. What would you say? Do you agree that President Uhuru Kenyatta, should at least sit aside or step aside or not actively involve himself in, the politics of the day?
First of all, President Uhuru is a Kenyan first before he became a president, and he's a Kenyan voter. So he has the democratic right to endorse anyone he feels he can endorse. If he can endorse Mudavadi, he has all the democratic right. These ODA people, they have been campaigning for over 4 years. So they thought they are the only people that they can convince Kenya they can vote for them. They have been campaigning all over the country. Yeah. So they thought they are the only people that they can convince Kenya that they can be voted for. So when other people now other people come into the race, into the field, now they feel threatened because they are so overconfident. Even at one point, our deputy president told us, you can even appoint Odinga to be the ABC chairman and I still beat you. So that kind of arrogance, it shows that this person, he is so overconfident, he is so is conceited and proud that he thinks that Kenyans are fools, they don't know what they are doing. And now, when Raila Odinga started doing his campaigns and he started going to climb the mountain, he realized that now things have changed now. The conversation has started to change. I'm not the only person who can talk to Kenyans and convince them that you can vote for me. Yeah. Now he has panicked. And whatever you are hearing these Tanga people say, they have panicked. They have realized they have lost these things. They have realized that Kenyans, Kenyans are wiser now. Kenyans are enlightened now. The Kenyans want development. They don't want rhetorics. They don't want empty rhetoric. They don't want propaganda. They want real agendas. They want real development.
But true to it, Kinuthia, don't you agree that sometimes it is necessary that the incumbent then steps off, in peace? We have seen what plays out in Tanzania. We're not saying that they are pretty much well politically, but in most cases you'll not find the incumbents or the people or the presidents who are exiting stage, getting to endorse somebody and all that. And to be honest, we can't compare ourselves based on how, there's so much tolerance during, electioneering moments. And so while it could be a good thing for President Uhuru Kenyatta to probably declare that I'd love for this person to get the seat, do you really agree? And I mean, this should not be based on the fact that you're in ODM. Do you really agree that it is good for the president to be active on what will play out in 2022, knowing the intolerance that exists, therein, knowing, the anxiety that lies underin?
First of all, our president was very categorical in the past that the handshake was not about into politics. The handshake with Prime Minister Raila Odinga was not all about succession politics. Yeah. It was all about to bring the Kenyans together and all tribes together. And President Uhuru has not come out publicly endorsing Prime Minister Raila Odinga for presidency. Whatever you're hearing from the public domain, it's all about...
But it's actually not what they have said. They've just said, and this is not UDA only. This is UDA and also One Kenya Alliance, supporters of the likes of ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi. They say, let Uhuru keep off 2022 polls. They have not decried the fact that he's supporting anybody. And if it is about that, the question would be, if they were to be supported by the president, would they be speaking the same thing?
From where I sit, the president has not supported or shown support for any particular candidate. Okay. Whatever he speaks from the public to the public, it is trying to speak to the people and telling the people you have all the right to decide for your own which candidate you want. But president has not come out clear to say I'm going to support Raila Odinga.
And you think confidently that he's not, we don't have his hand on the political scenes today?
From where I sit, he has not any political hand in our political succession politics right now.
All right, Mheshimiwa, not because you are a sympathizer of the DP and all that, But I'd love for you to probably tell us, do you think President Uhuru Kenyatta is a bit too involved in the politics of the day, which is something that could be an undoing for him, yes, in terms of a legacy or a proper legacy, and generally the situation in the country?
Linda, what I would like to tell Kenyans is very clear, that Kenyans live in this country, and therefore they understand the politics of every day. And going by what we have been witnessing, it's automatically that the head state is taking a very serious stake in the succession of this country. We found him very, very serious on the baby BBI, and it's only that baby died before birth. We have seen him also trying to bring together the fraternities of ODM and OKA together, making vigorous meetings in State House in Mombasa and Coast. And this is purely in engagement to the succession politics. Therefore, nobody can stand to say that the head of state is not keen in machinations of the succession of this country. But what I would like to say is very simple. He may have defined with his deputy, and probably he has totally decided not to support him, and that is not an issue and not a serious issue. But for these countries and for the betterment of this country, for the security of this country, for the peaceful of this country, after election, it is very important for the head of state not to become in the middle of this particular battle of succession. It is very important for the head of state to understand, during his coming into presidential list, Kibaki never interfered with this particular battle of the succession. And Kibaki allowed the field to be very free and fair to everybody. And that's how Uhuru was able to maneuver. And you can remember, Uhuru was not even declared as a candidate by Kibaki. It's Michuki the late who did this. And it's Michuki who told Kikuyus that if anyone wants to talk to Kikuyus, he must negotiate with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And therefore, I'm finding it a bit different this particular time, when a head of state want to be in the middle and the center of the succession politics, because this country should be left to grow. And if we want this country to grow even politically, allow to be allow to give what we call independent space to everybody, so that nobody will say that actually the state interfered with elections.
If it is independence to everybody, Mheshimiwa, isn't President Uhuru Kenyatta Kenyan as much? And I mean, if at all, then he wishes to probably continue his career in politics, and we all know that there are very many chances for that. Then don't you think it's only fair that as well he is active today so that tomorrow becomes easier for him?
One thing is that actually, if we can be able to remember the words that were spoken by the late Saitoti, the country is always more important than single individuals. So it is better need to consider that we need Kenya, and we need our broad Kenya united tomorrow. And who can make this happen? It's only when this particular case, because Kenya is very volatile when we come to elections. And we all know that actually we are always intact in 4 years. But when we come to election, and that's when Kenyans come to that particular edge where it becomes like, yes, it's a monster. I would say we have run enough, and because the head of state also is a citizen of this country, and he understands where we have come from, I think the only wise way is to use his wisdom and make sure that, in fact, he leaves the contenders free to contend, to woo voters, and handle the keys to the winner who Kenyans will give him. But when he intervenes and makes sure that he plays a major role in it, then it is like he's the one who is cooking it. And at the end of the day, if things can go against, he also finds himself in the mix. So I would wish that, in fact, if he's wise enough, he's good enough, because he has served his 2 terms. Kenyans trusted him and gave him the two terms spontaneously, and therefore it is my wish that he can take a role of a neutral role, so that at least it can allow every other contender freedom to woo voters.
Okay.
And whoever will succeed, then he's not a Ugandan, he's not a Somalia, he's not a Tanzanian, he's a Kenyan.
Okay.
Then he can hand over to Kenyans, because it's better to leave for the people to decide. And I think that's the only good way to go.
Okay, and speaking of the volatility of our politics today, the intolerance and the negativities that we witness over time, I don't know what you make, Kinuthia, of what played out in Laikipia County for Deputy President William Ruto while he was trying to address the crowds, and they all chanted the name of Mine and Jenga. And you ask yourself, while Kenyans say they have matured, while they guarantee us or themselves that, you know, we are headed to an election, and they seek to make sure that it's a free and fair process and peaceful process for that matter, why do we still have such, I mean, cases where, you know, it is the DP who's going to go to a certain place to speak of his agenda, and then again somehow will be locked out, and other aspirants as well would be locked out? Why?
First of all, let me respond to Mheshimiwa about the issue of Uhuru endorsing anybody, because there's a narrative in the public domain that President Uhuru promised that after 10 years he's going to support Ruto. So I'm posing a question to these people. What if the president is supporting Ruto to succeed him now? Will he be speaking the same tone they're speaking now?
Mheshimiwa, are you jilted lovers or what?
No, what I'm saying, Reader, I have just exonerated very clearly that, in fact, probably the head of state has decamped with supporting his deputy. But that does not say that actually he has no, because he's a voter. And as a voter, he has to cast his vote wherever he thinks. But for sure, taking to the position the country is, for the betterment of future of this country, it's always wise. And wise men just focus forward in the future. So that at least you find, yes, I can mix myself in this, but what about if tomorrow happens otherwise? Now we have seen Mount Kenya, that my good friend is talking of, Raila is now able to climb the mountain. But we have seen Mount Kenya rebelling against the head of state, and he's a son of Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me that there's a mechanism that you use to force them to go his way? If the mighty says, the mass says, this is our way, leave the might, let the mass to decide their way.
Okay.
Don't force them their way.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, back to you.
Now, about the issue of political intolerance, that is a very shameful thing in this country, and it must be condemned with the strongest terms possible. Because I'll take for my case. There's a time our deputy president came to Sabasaba like 2 weeks ago. As an aspirant in Murang'a County, I was invited by my MP. I did not attend because it was a UDA meeting.
Okay.
However, around Kaharati area, I had erected my banners with my name and my party and my party leader. So what happened? They came and removed those banners and they burnt them.
All right.
And my boys who were there, who had come to maybe to give people some posters for the people to see that they are the senatorial aspirant in this county, they were laughed at by the guys who donned the UDA reflectors.
Okay.
So that is a shame thing. We want a country whereby I can campaign in any part of this country without being heckled, without being stoned, without any protest coming.
And even before, I mean, as it escalates further, what are your chances that is in central Kenya and, you know, vying there under ODM?
You know, for a long time, people have always said that ODM is a Nyanza party, is a Luo party. But I want to tell Kenya that this is no more now. ODM is a national party. And ODM carries the visions of all Mount Kenya people. Now, ODM party carries the aspirations of Mount Kenya people and Murang'a people. And people on the ground, if you support corruption-free country, then you support Raila Odinga. If you want improved coffee prices in Mount Kenya, then Raila is safer for you. If you support youth employment in this country, then Raila is safer for you. If you want our farmers in Mount Kenya to continue planting their coffee again, their tea again, and their prices be improved, your bet is Raila Odinga. And if you are talking about now the social protection program, we have so many vulnerable families in this country who cannot even afford a $1 bill in a day. The promise of 6,000 shillings per month, that's a very serious promise, and every Kenyan should take up that. And as a youth in Mount Kenya region,
do you
Murang'a
trust
County,
in that yourself?
I believe in that.
You believe in that?
Because I believe Raila Amolo Odinga is a man of his own word, and is a man who cannot lie to the people. He's a very honest man. Yeah.
Have they deciphered, or have you tried to decipher, you know, and get to understand how best this is achievable in the country, how realistic it would be, and for how long then a program it would go? We had the likes of, you know, Moi Jr., that is Gideon Moi, you know, reminding people that maziwa yanyayo itarudi, you know. So that is one thing that we all look forward to. And a majority of very many promises, I know that one is the list that you expect me to mention, but true to it, if we're talking about that, do you suppose then that genuinely it is realistic for us to achieve this?
It is very realistic because our president told us that this country loses 2 billion daily. That means every month we lose 60 billion. And Raila is a very serious man who can fight corruption. And he has assured Kenya that whenever he takes office, he's going to seal all those loopholes.
What do you mean he can fight corruption? And I know that it is not him who's in power right now, but we've also seen how in his own special relationship that they share with the president, he's been able to coerce the president to do a couple of things that are, you know, have brought change. This is one of the biggest change that Kenyans are yearning for. So when you say he's capable of fighting corruption, what stops him from pushing for the same right now? And, you know, when you speak about the fact that he would be able to deliver the 6,000 stipend to vulnerable families, you know, you're looking at a country that is stifled in debt. You're looking at the country that, you know, is running with zero, that would be able to allow us, I mean, even pay the teachers as they're expected to be paid, policemen as they're expected to be paid, and all these other government or civil servants.
Kenya is a rich country. So much money is lost through corruption. If Raila Odinga can come and stop that corruption from this country, from having in our state or our ministries, then he's going to make funds available to implement his social protection promise to the Kenyans. And you have, I'm telling you this, I may not need that 6,000 because I am able to afford myself, but there's a serious family in this country who still need that 6,000.
How different is it for, Mheshimiwa, and this one goes to you, how different is it if we were to compare the same, the bottoms-up approach? I know you say it's a very beautiful model, but Kenyans continue to question the realistic aspect of it and the practicability of the same. Just how different is it when, you know, Right Honorable Raila Odinga proceeds to the podium to castigate the bottom-up approach angle, yet he is there to dish out 6,000 for every vulnerable, you know, family. I mean, just how then do you get us to promises really that do not count? And I am saying they're not counting with confidence because I have engaged economists that say this is not possible.
Rinda, first and foremost, we must assess our economic position and situation. Currently, our economy is at ICU. And when the economy is at that level, there is no miracle that by the close of 2022, when the president is exiting from power, that the economy will have changed. And therefore, whoever will succeed Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta must be prepared for a big economical battle. This one is taking into consideration that going from where we have come from, during the Moi era, Moi exited when the GDP of this country was 1 trillion, and he was able to be releasing domestic corrections of about 180 billion, and he left this country with only loans of about 600 billion. When Kibaki took over, Kibaki did a very tremendous move because he jump-started this country's economy, and he made structures that actually enabled him to build a big scope of economy, where at his exit, he left this country at 6.7 trillion growth. And at that particular point, this country was only indebted at 1.8 trillion. But find where we are now. The economy has grown only, I would say, like 2 to 3 trillion. Because we are at the level of maybe 10, allowed 10 trillion from the 6.7 Kibaki left. But you find we have moved from 1.8 trillion loans to 9 trillion loans. This, my leader, even though you do magic, there is no way you can cope with that kind of a scenario, because already our readers, and especially China, we have seen the president moving to China, asking for more reading, and actually the red card was already on the tape, and therefore that telling us actually China is not ready to give you more. And if that is the position, how do you expect now the newcomer who will take over from Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to concentrate with free money of 6,000 package to a free money? That is not possible. But I would tell you something. The difference between the free money of 6,000 and the what we call bottom-up, it is totally different. Because the bottom-up is equally is like what we call Wesofad. Wesofad is a fund which was given out by the government after the 2013 election. The money that was set aside for rerun, which never took place. That money in my constituency is still revolving, and that money is not being added a penny at any single budget. But we still have that money, because what do? Actually, you let out that money to the groups, and those groups take loans, but they are given 6 months
to repay.
A window of 6 months to practice in that money and start paying after 6 months. But I can tell you, most of the groups were able to pay and repay. They have to use the money and to use the funds and repay. Because today I am heading to give out about 8 million, maybe in next 1 or 2 months, of the same kitty, because the kitty is well revolving. Therefore, when we talk about bottom up, it is making sure that it is not free money. Because nobody can be able to give free money and survive in this country's economy. What would you do? You may find a situation where what we call bureaucracies are off, and there is an access to that particular kitty. And this is how these SMEs can be able to access that fund. And after accessing that fund has a formula on how to repay. But it cannot be a free money at all. No. If we talk about free money, then we are lost. Because first and foremost, we must think, how are we going to manage our debts and our level of debt? And how are we going to manage our mega projects going forward if we are locked in where we normally borrow?
All right. Well, of course, we're talking about the promises. Yes, Kinuthia.
The 6,000 social protection program by Raila Amolo Odinga is not free money. It is an initiative to cushion our vulnerable families from the pang of hunger, to ensure that their socio and economic well-being is being catered for by the government. It's not a free money. It is not handout. It is to cushion these people from the hardship of this life. Because when you get 6,000, you can get it into your account in the form of like a salary. Then you can use that money, that pay slip, to acquire a bank loan from a microfinance or an institution, and then you can put up a business. And when you put up a business, you improve your livelihood. So it is not a free money. It is protecting these people from economic hardship.
So at what point then are we able to look at the promises, Mheshimiwa, and say that, you know what, this is free money, these are handouts, and these are promises that are, you know, are tangible promises, and we're likely to get answers as pertaining to the same? Because if we are to talk about, you know, these two individuals, and generally even the likes of Amani Coalition boss has said, you know, in terms of the Uchumi Bora manifesto that he unveiled at some point in time, how best can we tell that this is a genuine promise that will be delivered, and this is one promise that seeks to cushion us during tough times?
One thing that I can tell you, and I can assure you, Rida, is that if you can have what we call empowerment of those those forgotten society down there, those are Mabogas and the rest. I'm sure that you are empowering somebody willing to excel. Therefore, you are not just giving out money for somebody who would just be sitting waiting for that money to come and eat. And plan with that. Because if really we miss the track and say, yes, this is a social fund, we have what we call cash transfer for the elderly, and it's only 2,000 per month. And we have been also finding difficulties for them to get this 2,000. It's only 2,000 for the elderly. Then when we say that we are going to look for a scope where with almost a number of houses to keep them out of that, to keep them out of hunger and what. I think that is not the right direction to go.
Okay.
It can be done in the developed countries, but this is a country which is purely in a fragile economy, and in the state of economy we are in, it is not possible. And I can repeat it again and again. It is not possible, because where would you first deal with the loans and clearance of your debts, or you be able to deal with that social fund? Because one thing you must keep the priorities first. What will be your priorities? If the priorities will be just to generate revenue from the taxpayers and give back to the people, to those maybe families of that nature, then number one is that you must be making a mistake somewhere.
Okay.
But how can you motivate those families and put them out of the hunger? Find a way how you can give them funds that are not free fund, because in that social fund is a free money. Yes, don't call it, whether you call it social or what, it is free money.
Okay.
Because it's not a money that's going to be repaid. It is free money. So don't allow that. That is even making people to be lazy. Yes, don't make the communities lazy. What you must do, make sure that actually you give them what we call education, educate them how to put themselves from the city there. Give them loans. Yes, give them small softer terms to pay. Let them look something to do in their livelihood, so that at least they can bail themselves out. Until when will you keep on giving them out to 6,000? Are you forever going to? Are they going to be forever dependent of the government? It's not possible.
All right. Well, but it is happening in other countries, Mahesh.
Yes, it is happening.
It is happening in the developed.
Okay. And you think we are not going to be developed anytime
soon?
No,
we can. But let us talk about that and that kind of consideration.
Let's have a conversation revolving around
when
that.
we arrive at least that level.
Hence, but at what point then will we arrive at this level?
But at the level we are.
Yes.
I am telling you and repeating very clearly that actually we are in a very, very fragile economy. Yes, that cannot sustain that.
Okay.
When our retired President Mwai Kibaki came into power in 2003, remember during their campaign period with Raila Odinga, they promised Kenya that they are going to deliver free primary education. At that time, our economy was on its knees.
Yes.
Kenyans doubted. This is not doable, it is impossible, because there is no money to do that. But when they came into power, did it happen?
It did.
It happened. If this one for Raila, for social protection program for the vulnerable families, it is doable and it is possible in Inawezekana. Yes.
All right. Well, we have all these promises left, right, and see. Yes. Let us wait and see.
Let us wait and see.
Wait and see is to mean that you acknowledge that he's going to get to power and he will be able to do.
If it's not a political gimmick, they're good for Kenyans.
You know, Hesh, you will be cornered on getting us to understand how then again the bottoms-up approach will equally be achieved. But I know that because the whole book of manifesto.
I can tell you,
yes,
I have an experience, because I have a revolving fund of the kind which in my constituency, which works really well. So I know the model can work.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But the question is, the one who is coming up with the bottom-up model has been the deputy president since 2013. And in the first term, he was like equally powerful like the president. So I'm asking a very good question here. Where was he? Has he just woken up from a slumber? Has he just woken up from a slumber and realized that we have common mama bogas, Mkokoteni people? He didn't know that these people existed before? Why was he not talking about these people?
I can tell you, reader, again and again, a deputy is always a deputy. And let me tell you, who calls shots is the head of state. Today, you have even had Uhuru Muigai very categorically in the public that the projects are done by Uhuru. Yes, Uhuru's government.
Okay.
So a deputy is a deputy, and he has no, the role is the role delegated to him by the head of state. So who is the powerful person? The powerful man on the seat is the head of state.
Yes.
And that's it.
Okay.
But until when you give a deputy his chance, that's only you can say you have given you a chance, just actualize your dreams.
But the same deputy is the one who gives promises, he's the one who articulates government agenda, he's the one who says the government has done, the government will do, the government is going to do.
Okay.
No.
He does it on behalf.
And he's the one
he always does on behalf.
And he's the one to avoid the whole country saying,
yes,
I have a track record. That if you are a deputy, which track record do you have?
Becomes hard.
What do you have?
All right, okay. Well, these are the promises that we are actually talking about, gentlemen. And Kenyans are, getting themselves into this, and I ask this question oftenly. We're headed to an election year in period. We get excited on some of these promises that are given, and you, as supporters of different quotas, will definitely try your level best to sell this agenda. You'll try your level best to just tell the Kenyans of how possible these things are. In most cases, if we get to the nitty-gritty details, we certainly agree that economically we are not in the best of shape, and therefore all these models will require for us to go an extra mile. What would be your advice to the electorate? What would you tell the electorate today, that even as they listen to these figures that go around, making promises to them, telling them we're going to do this, we're going to do that, how then can we trust them and stay woke to a point where we will put them to account? Because look at the basic one that we're talking about. It's not the first time that the river in Ziu was supposed to be set for a bridge, but years down, such has not happened. That was a promise that was made to the people back then. They probably banked on that, but today it has not happened. The same way we bank on the promises that have been given to us by politicians, but in most cases they never come to fruition.
As a politician is like a product, and as a product you must package yourself in such a way that you appeal to your voters or to your consumers.
Yes.
And how do you appeal to your consumer or to your voters? You must come up with the political proposals or campaign promises. And these campaign promises, they must appeal to the desires of these voters for change, because they want to see you as the agent of the change, that you're going to heal the past faults of the previous government or the previous holder of that office. So, and the problem with the politician, they rely so much on populism. Populism agenda, populism promises, which they know so well that whenever they get into office, they are not going to fulfill that promises. So I was proposing this one. Can we have what you call the ethics commissioner, and we make it a legal offense, that or a criminal offense, that if a politician does not deliver on his or promises, they are held accountable. Okay. So that they can be to explain to the 190, you promised that you are going to do A, B, C, D. Why haven't you done that? What difficulty did you face? What complexity did you encounter that made you not to realize this particular promise that you made? Okay. Our politicians must be honest. You must promise what you can deliver, and you must commit yourself to what you are delivering. In this country, our children were promised they are going to be given free laptops. It never came to happen. Yes. We were promised that they are going to create 1 million jobs every year for our youth. We lose jobs instead of creating jobs to our youth. They also promised that they are going to construct what you call stadiums in all constituencies. It never came to pass.
So he was working with President Uhuru Kenyatta, a president whom you now celebrate because, well, it appears that again he is in good books with your boss, your party boss.
What I'm saying is, politicians should be honest to electorates. Okay. Promise what you can deliver. Regardless and they should be held accountable. Okay. We must establish an ethics commissioner which can subject these politicians to ethics investigations. If you do not deliver this, explain. And if you are held that you are culpable, you can request to step aside. Okay. Yeah. All right. You must hold these leaders accountable to what they tell us. Yeah.
Well, we still are grappling to understand how best we can put our leaders to accountability. Once they come home, they campaign, you vote for them, they disappear. You take forever before you get to see your constituents, and in most cases the question is why. Technically, maybe once they get there with so much hope that things are going to change, then they realize that actually things are not what you would expect, and maybe that's the reason why. So we are going to take a quick breather. It's very important that we do the same, so that after that we continue to expound further on this conversation of how best we can make sure that even as we're being promised stuff, or we're being rendered into all these debts, that we get value for money and that we can trust our leaders to deliver some of the promises that they have made. So let's take that break, and remember the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. I'll be sampling some of your comments later on the broadcast.
Entrepreneurs around the country are creatively grinding.
I started with a borrowed phone.
A borrowed phone?
Yeah, that could last 2 hours with charge.
We just have to do quality work for them.
To make their mark in an unpredictable market.
It was now going on a sales venture, looking for stockists.
door to door.
On the grind, we bring you their stories so you can tell yours. Every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Men are known to be the pillars.
We're rising up together.
Say your point. You need an alpha male now to come and help you and your girl.
Anaongea zero.
And women, they are the cornerstone that hold the pillars.
Don't be entitled. A man is peaceful, a man knows how to talk to a lady.
This November, the Men's Conference brings a cocktail of diverse ladies to weigh in on various matters.
Something I'd love more to see is men being able to exist as themselves.
Tune in every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
Hello guys, and welcome to Night In with Joy Irungu. Joy Irungu. Joy Irungu.
Heartbreak, pain, and tears have been a major part of Night In Season 1. We thank you for being with us on this journey, and for this upcoming season, we will bring you more empowering stories that not everyone is talking about.
This is the only show where we keep it authentic. We share our lifetime experiences, and you know what? Tell every person that you can turn your pain into power.
Join Joy Irungu on Night In as we take the brave step of sharing.
The road to 2022 is becoming tougher.
Nyuma ya wheelbarrow kuna economic model.
And trickier with each passing day.
Niliwaambia washushe chini bei ya mafuta.
Political aspirants in a dilemma whether to change allegiance or not.
How has Raila and the handshake made Jubilee lose focus?
You've seen Raila Odinga flying military choppers.
Our people have never been called to Uhuru Park to unite. They have always united out of their own volition.
That's love. Reduce your madness.
Kenyans are suffering.
That'd be fair to conclude.
I don't want your station to be sued. That Jubilee government has never been able to sponsor any successful project.
Every Monday at 9:30 p.m., Pundits Night brings you inclusive and candid conversations with the pundits. We say disability is not inability.
Our impairment are not disability. Disability is the barriers put across by the society.
Beyond the Limit gives a voice to those abled differently.
People with special needs can undertake a job, particularly that is customer service focused, as good, if not better, than people that are 100% abled.
We bring you conversations of these great persons, round table conversations, and many more. At gmail.com. Mount Kenya University. Entrepreneurs around the country are creatively grinding.
I started with a borrowed phone.
A borrowed phone?
Yeah, that could last 2 hours with charge.
We just have to do quality work for them.
To make their mark in an unpredictable market.
It was now going on a sales venture, looking for stockists door to door.
On the grind, we bring you their stories so you can tell yours. Every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Men are known to be the pillars.
We're rising up together.
Say your point. You need an alpha male now to come and help you and your girl.
Anaongea zero.
And women, they are the cornerstone that hold the pillars.
Don't be entitled. A man is peaceful, a man knows how to talk to a lady.
This November, the Men's Conference brings a cocktail of diverse ladies to weigh in on various matters.
Something I'd love more to see is men being able to exist as themselves.
Tune in every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
Hello guys, and welcome to Night In with Joy Irungu. Joy Irungu. Joy Irungu.
Heartbreak, pain, and tears have been a major part of Night In Season 1. We thank you for being with us on this journey, and for this upcoming season, we will bring you more empowering stories that not everyone is talking about.
This is the only show where we keep it authentic. We share our lifetime experiences, and you know what? Tell every person that you can turn your pain into power.
Join Joy Irongo on Night In as we take the brave step of sharing.
The road to 20
will shift the talk of politics in the country. We need to know whether, as many would say, it will be official that it's a two-horse race. We have seen individuals from the side of Mudavadi trying to soften up, and they say, you know what, in the event that Mudavadi is not in the battle, that we hope he is there, but in the event that he's not there, we would rather, if he's been given, to choose between Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Ruto, then they would rather go the Right Honorable Raila Odinga way. So much is likely to change politically on Friday upon that declaration. What are your expectations?
Leader, first and foremost, let me say that there will be no surprise. Because Raila is a man who we know very well. And Raila... Raila is not a first-time contender. He's a 50-time contender. And out of all these contentions, actually, he held these big rallies either in Uhuru Park or Nyayo Stadium or Kasarani. So to me, there is nothing new. The only thing that I would say could be new is maybe probably naming his heir or his running mate. I'm not very sure whether that will happen. Because also by naming his hair at that particular rally, it's also associated to him. Because I'm very sure that at this particular time and moment, he is not clear whether Oka Kenya will join him or not. And he also wants to bank with the Mount Kenya region and Jubilee, and the Jubilee coalition. And I'm very sure that if there will be a fundamental coalition between ODM and the Jubilee, then there will be an agreement that Raila is the presidential contender, and then the Jubilee probably will be able to present a running mate, where probably the head of state as the party leader has a big say on that. And therefore, anything that I expect from that particular rally is only Raila declaring himself a candidate. But he's already a candidate. We have seen him craving mountain. We have seen him urging Coast to support him. We have seen.
You know very well that actions speak louder than words.
But we have seen Raila campaigning vigorously everywhere.
But didn't he do the same and then he said Kibaki Tosha? No.
The only surprise thing we can expect in that is that he would say, in this particular time, I have said my ambition, and I have said Karoso Tosha, or I have said Mudavadi Tosha. That's the only surprise we can hear on that particular day.
What would that surprise mean?
But later going to confirm himself a contender is not a surprise.
All right. So what would it mean for such a surprise to happen, politically in the country?
If he can tell us somebody else except himself, then that's another beginning. Because then you can say, we have now started cruising.
Okay.
Politically.
But as it stands, do you think Right Honorable Raila Odinga is a threat to the Tanga side?
As we stand, I don't believe he is a threat at all.
They say he's now
one thing I can tell
vigorously.
What can the thing I tell you for sure? If you are a political analyst, and you are, and surely you are, you have seen Coast, we have seen Ruto entry, and almost going half with Raila. If it is Western region, where Raila carries what we call advantage of a big block, the current situation today, we have a Mulembe man who is Mudavadi with the correction of his for the Kenya brother there.
Okay.
And therefore we are seeing a united Western now, where Raila is not going to enjoy the percentage he normally enjoy. And also we are finding also Ruto not also out of that particular region.
Okay.
We can also say that at least at the end of the day, 25 to 30%, you may also find Ruto entry on that particular western region. Therefore, I would say, if I do a general arithmetic, I would say, really, Raila is not a threat at all. He can be a threat if we support somebody else.
Well, he appears to be climbing the mountain very fast, as Kinuthia would say. It's actually the lake and the mountain that are now together. And to be honest, Mahesh, we agree that, and I mean, a majority of even his supporters have accepted that it is true that the DP, you know, is steps ahead. But also, you know, he needs to stay woke because the chances of him being overtaken are high.
I can tell you, and this one take to bank. Leader Camp 2022, the Mount Kenya people that has a start, and I can tell you, when they say yes, it remains yes, and when they say no, it remains no. In this one, if you know them, if you have seen them discarding one of their own, who is the incumbent, and they have shown him what we call a protest vote in Junja, another protest vote here in Kiamba, and by election that we have witnessed, don't expect very big change. Because it is not Raila who is going to come to turn things. If Uhuru himself cannot change the minds of his own tribesmen, don't expect a stranger is the one who come to pursue them, to persuade them to move his way. And it is one I will assure you. Take this to bank. Yes, Raila will move to the mountain and he will be received but like anybody else. And but those numbers, you will not find them in the ballot. This one I can tell you.
All right, and evidently, what are your expectations for this particular day? I know you are excited. We have seen the likes of Minor Commander saying that yes, the mountain will be in Kasarani, and we have leaders from Jubilee also out there to support Right Honorable Raila Odinga. But you know, people are keen on the reality of the day and what is likely to be the big declaration and announcement. As supporters, it's evident that you have confirmed that Baba will be on the ballot.
Azimio la Umoja is a rallying call from Kenyans speaking to a certain political leader, requesting that political leader to bring some change in their lives. Because Kenyans at large, they are facing a lot of economic hardships. Kenyans want change. So in Kasarani, Kenya, they are going to speak Raila Amolo Odinga. They're going to Raila Amolo Odinga, we want change. We want our taxes to be lowered. We want our fuel prices to be lowered. We want our environment for doing business be favorable. So Raila is going to listen to these people. You remember he has been transversing the entire country. Listen to the people. Listen to the Kenyans that he wants these people, you want to represent these people, their vision and their aspirations. So in Kasarani, he's going to speak to Kenyans and assure them that he has listened to them and he has their aspirations, he had heard them and is going to work for them and with them. So in Kasarani, you expect Raila to speak to Kenyans. Kenyans, Mount Kenya, Nyanza people, Coast people, everyone. It will be in Kasarani to listen to Raila Odinga speak to them about what he expects to do to them, about what he's about to do to the economy, about what he's about to do.
So it is launching his manifesto, or what is it?
So we expect him to tell us that he's going to be, you know, as an aspirant?
Of course, Prime Minister Raila Odinga is a project of Kenyans. Kenyans want a man who can fix the economy for them. Kenyans want a man who can bring real changes to them. And they see that man is none other but Raila Amolo Odinga. You know, in Mount Kenya, people, they say that it is Rutonated. You know, Ruto's people supported Mount Kenya, they speak so loudly. So you think they're the only people that can support in Mount Kenya. But I can tell you, I go to the ground, I listen to the people. People, they are saying, this person will be telling the devil in the Mount Kenya, when you look into our both eyes, I think he's our angel that you need to come and fix our tea prices, to come and fix our tea prices, and to come and fix our milk prices.
Track records and previous experiences, what we have observed previously, what these leaders have done, you know, before, is one of the key things that, you know, most of the people will look at. And I mean, it cuts across. In most cases, we look at you and we say, well, while you are at TV47, this is the match that you did. What makes you think you're going to do something different at this particular lot? Sometimes they give you the benefit of the doubt and they say it's fine. You probably, as they would say, were under a president, and President Uhuru Kenyatta would not allow you to do some of these things. Do you think that you have the confidence in Right Honorable Raila Odinga, looking at his performance at a point in time when he was in government, at a point in time when he was member of parliament, looking at Kibra, looking at Langata, do you have the confidence that you know, he would be able to manage the country? We look at Mheshimiwa today based on the lenses of what he did before he got into government back then in the offices that he held. If he wants to go a notch higher, we look at Embakasi North and say, well, has he done well? Has he not done well? Do you trust in the capability of Right Honorable Raila Odinga?
I trust and believe that Raila has what it takes to fix this country. If you look at his track records, it speaks for itself. When Raila was the Minister of Road in 2002 to 2003, he's the one who drafted the Thika Superhighway. It was to be implemented during the first term of Mwai Kibaki, but it never came to pass. But when he became the Prime Minister, he implemented that project. So he's a man of actions. He's a man of words. He had a project that he was about to build some decent houses for Kibra people. You know who went to the court and he blocked that project. Even now, we have some units that were built in Kibra for those people.
Okay.
So Raila's track record speaks for itself. He's the man who has fought for corruption. He fight corruption. You remember during the Grand Coalition government?
Yes.
When there was a mis scandal. What did the Prime Minister do? Whoever was culpable, they were fired. Okay. They were forced to step down pending investigations. So he's a man who is of his own word. Whatever he says, he does it. He listens to the people. Yeah.
All right, well, it will be interesting to watch what is going to happen there. He's invited the One Kenya Alliance, you know, principals, told that President Uhuru Kenyatta is actively involved in the setting up of this. And we seek to see just how best then it will play out come Friday. But in all this, the DP is crying foul. He says that we have individuals that are forming tribal parties, you know, to whip emotions, and he is complaining that the judiciary is being used to, again, witch hunt on his supporters. He is crying out foul, and he says that, you know what, it's important that such should be addressed. A person who is in power, a person who's at the top of the helm, and we constantly question why he's not resigned amidst all these cries. And, you know, he says he will not resign, he will not retreat, and he sticks there. Mheshimiwa, with all this crying foul, a person who is in government, why should we trust him that, you know, once he gets there again, right at the top, he will be in charge, he will be in control?
Rita, I did explain very well that at least we know the powers given by our constitution to those deputies. And we know how the deputies are being as far as the law is concerned. We have seen how governor deputies are being treated, and they are being treated as a flower girls in the offices. And most of the governors who does not want to empower their deputies are have only one duty of waking up and getting to an office, having a cup of tea and reading papers. Okay. But the shots are all done by the executive, because the powers are under the governor.
Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
In this particular case of the deputy president, I can tell you for sure. And because, leader, you are Kenyan, you also know this.
Yes.
That at least the deputy president is totally powerless in terms of taking action.
But Chapter 6 of the Constitution, we talk of integrity. I mean, it's the most noble thing for a leader, you know, to say, well, at this point, there's no point of me taking money from my people anymore, money that can be channeled to a different direction, money that can be used to probably feed the numerous Kenyans who are, you know, going through starvation today, and say, it's fine, I am not being accorded any duties by my boss. What am I doing here? why should I continue politicking while I'm still in the very same office? And I know I do not have the moral authority to challenge the deputy president, but don't you think if we are to talk on aspects of integrity, then that would be the most noble thing to do?
One thing is that if at least a leader, you are very sure and guaranteed that actually you are not going to face what we call deep harassment, one can decide, but not in this country. This country will just make sure that after you step aside from that moment, and then you are not yourself again, and you'll be left right in what we call haphazard disruption.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that yes, at the point we are, the deputy president has been pushed to the end, and if really he takes an action of resigning, then he will get the worst. So if I am the one, I would just
rather stay.
I would still ask him to stay, to stay put. Because when you are there, you better, other than when you are out. Because when you are out, you'll be hunted like an antelope.
Okay, well, One Kenya Alliance and the body language and how they're speaking, they appear to be very confident, and of course traversing different parts of the country as well, selling their manifesto somewhere in the coast, you know, telling the people of the coast what they seek to do for them. The promises are on and people are listening. But on the other hand, we have supporters of, you know, like the main contenders, the likes of ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, saying that, you know what, chances are that, you know, he would probably not be on the ballot in as much as that's what they hope so. And so in the event that he's not there, the high likelihood is that for them to go and proceed and support Baba. Nothing new in this case. We remember of NASA coalition. What then different would it be for him to get the support from these other principles? Kinuthia.
First of all, I wanted to avoid so much the discussion about the Oka people, because those are political non-starters in this country.
You think?
They lack what you call political sparks, the political charisma in this country. So, and if you listen to a leader that can only ask other people to endorse them, that is a leader that is a failure, who has no charisma. He has no anything that Kenyans can offer to Kenyans. Raila has never even a single day asked these people to come and endorse him. They're the one, whenever they go in a political rally, in a hotel room, they only talk about Raila. They only talk about Raila.
Okay.
And for their political relevance, and then for their political survival, eventually they'll have to come and join Professor Raila Odinga. Because without Raila Odinga, without hanging around his court, politically they are finished.
Okay.
They are not going anywhere.
Well, that will be interesting. Do you suppose it's the case? We understand the likes of Musalia Mudavadi are formidable enough. Musalia Mudavadi is the one who came up with the NASA outfit. He's the very same person who probably was the driving factor of this. Can you confidently say that indeed he lacks the, you know, political stamina to that level?
First and foremost, I want to allude myself in that let us not dismiss that Oka team in totality. These are men and women who supported Raila during his 2 terms. And therefore, it's not even it's not a crime when they seek his support. Because surely, when gentlemen sit down and agree on a particular course, then I think that in fact it's also important also to at some time fulfill those promises, because there was those kind of promises that actually when they were at NASA they made an agreement. Kaloso has been 2 times running mate for Raila, and actually there was an agreement that at some time, whether Raila will make it or not, actually he will support him. So actually they are not asking too much, but they are only asking that they have sacrificed themselves there before. Why not that this time the senior ODM boss can't support one of his supporters? So I think they have a genuine case, and you know, the English says once bitten twice shy. Then maybe there are issues they have witnessed in the two spontaneous times they have supported Raila. And probably I have heard them even saying that actually the ODM party has been enjoying what we call the party financing, the party government financing, and actually they were getting zero out of it. Then you may also consider, when it comes to such a time, what new do you expect out of that kind of outfit? And therefore, whether one would like to say they are non-starters, I would still say that Kalonzo commands support of his own backyard, and Musalia also commands, even not whole number of Western, he also commands a percent. So at least I cannot dismiss them.
All right, we are keenly watching. But then again, we ask, there are also other political aspirants, new faces, new blood, great ideas. But Kenyans still do not have liking for such. Kinuthia, why is it so? There are young tucks that have come up, and I mean, you as a young one would definitely wish to see young leadership, would definitely wish to see the youth taking up the challenge. Why is it that we do not bestow our confidence in these individuals that are new and are just kind of joining the game?
For a long time, youths in this country have always been sidelined in a matter of our leadership. We always told that youth are the leaders of tomorrow, and this tomorrow never comes. But right now you are saying that tomorrow is today. We are going to take up the leadership of this country. We are going to change our conversation. We are going to change our country when we are in a political leadership. And I'm going to urge our people out there, go vote for a young person. A young person has fresh ideas. A young person is fresh. They have the energy. A good example, we have a good example of young leader in this country. And a good example is a young man from Kiharu. We may be politically off from each other, but that man has done a very good job in Kiharu.
Oh yeah?
I know he's UDI, you don't agree politically, but he's done a very good job, and he's a young man.
Give credit.
Another person is Babu Owino from Embakasi. He's a young man. He's done a very splendid job in Embakasi.
He's your neighbor. Has he done well, Mheshu?
So I'm saying, young people has what it takes in this country. Give young people a chance, and they are going to do excellent job for your people. And I'm asking my Murang'a people, support me as a young person, and support me as your son. And I'm going to work for you. I'm going to be your voice. I'm going to be there for you all the time.
All the best. All the best. Mahesh, you still going it for the Member of Parliament seat, or you will review that as you continue?
Rinda, I have not changed my mind. There are some things that are not completed, and I wish to do a completion of it. And therefore, I still urge my constituents to start with me, so that at least we can do the finalities of whatever little we have not summarized. So me, I will still beg my Embakasi North people to stand with me in this coming election.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself?
Let me not rate myself, because the rating is done by
the people, and
I allow them to rate me.
Okay. Yes. Don't you think it would be fair for you to say, well, at least I have managed 95%?
No, I am sure that they know I have done job.
Okay.
Yes.
All
job
right.
I have done.
All right.
And I'm sure that they are testimony to that.
Once again, all the best. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Unless you want a minute to pull your parting shots, I guess on that very note, we leave it at that. And we yes, make it 45 seconds.
I want to speak to my Murang'a people. I want to kindly ask you to vote for me. I want you to not to consider what you have been told in the past. Do not vote for parties. Do not vote political suits. Vote for fresh people. Interrogate me. Listen to what I'm telling you. Interrogate my ideologies, my agenda, and consider me as your next senator. I will be there for you, and I'll work for you, and will always be a voice of reason. Support me, and I kindly ask you, support me. Elect me as your next senator in Murang'a County.
It will be very interesting to watch for him to go and vie in Murang'a County under the ODM ticket, right? Then we'll say politically things and times have really changed. Mheshimiwa, unless you have anything to add?
Yeah, I wish him all the best. I am sure that it will be a very tough time for him, because of the perception. But the candidate is a good candidate.
Yeah.
It's only maybe the job he's wearing is which will be considered otherwise.
Okay.
But I wish him all the best. Murang'a is not easy, but I am sure that if he knocks the doors well, I am sure they will respond. And my final remarks is that I still urge Kenyans to be at this particular time of election, just to apply decorum, just to make sure that at least we are peaceful, because this country is our country, and let us make sure that at least we uphold what you call peace, so that at least all of us, even after election, this country still, we need it, it's our mother, and this is where we depend, all of us. So whether politics, and if you feel that actually you do not want to see even my face in my campaign, kindly just pull out. Don't bring chaos, unnecessary chaos in the political rallies. It is of no need. Don't throw stones, because you may throw a stone, unfortunately you hate one of your sister or your brother unintentionally. So kindly let us make sure that we embrace peace as we campaign.
Honorable James Gakuya, Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, thank you so much for speaking to us. The great insights right there. I hope that the electorate is keen enough